Hi, hope you're doing well. With 2026 approaching a little bit too quickly, and I think everyone, myself included, being super excited about our new journals and planners, I thought I would share a few of my tips for consistency when it comes to journaling and planning. I'm just going to put a bunch of clips of me journaling, writing, planning, and crafting from the past few weeks, and I will just do a voiceover for all of the tips. Alright, let's get started. Number one, I think it's really important to really know yourself and know what kind of journal or planner would work for you. I think this is a really big factor when it comes to consistency, because if your planner or journal doesn't really fit with you, then I feel like you wouldn't be excited to open it up each day and write in it. So using myself as an example, I absolutely love traveler's notebooks and ring planners. I have used them in the past, I still do use them, and I own several. However, over the years, I know that with my personality, I wouldn't be able to keep up with a traveler's notebook as my daily planner. I again still love the traveler's notebook and ring-bound planners, and I use it for different purposes like art journaling, taking study notes, etc. However, as a daily to-do list system, I know that I wouldn't be able to keep up with it, because just the simple friction of having to undo the elastic, or having to undo a button, or I don't know, zipper cases, that is enough to deter me from opening up a planner. So yes, over the years I have realized that for me, I cannot have a planner with any sort of closure. I need to be able to open it up right away. I also know that, again, with my personality, I will just forget to, for example, order more inserts, and at some point I will also just be too lazy to make my own inserts or cut my own inserts, stuff like that. So again, I want to be clear that I'm not hating on traveler's notebooks or ring-bound planners. I'm more so making fun of myself for how lazy I can be at times, I suppose. Another personal example, I know a lot of people don't like the Hobonichi Cousin because the dates are pre-printed and you might not need a full page for every single day. And the Hobonichi Cousin also has the quotations at the bottom, which is just really random, and I know a lot of people don't like it and want to cover it up. But for me, it's actually really helpful, because when I open up my planner in the morning, it is not a completely blank page. I definitely like being really creative with my journal, and I don't like to get boxed in, but I do need a little bit of structure to keep myself consistent. So yeah, I think taking some time to really reflect on your personality and what sort of planner or journal will work with that really helps. The next tip kind of relates to the previous one, and it is to have some sort of structure but not be super rigid about it. If you have been watching my videos for a while, you probably know my general routine and structure. So using the Hobonichi Cousin daily pages as an example, I use a pencil to draw a margin. I have a section for my morning routine, a section for my work to-do list, a section for my personal to-do list, and then I usually start off with a prompt, and then the rest is all just free journaling space. So that is my general structure, and it's really helpful to have this because I kind of just go on autopilot every single day, and I know what to do. Life is always throwing curveballs, and sometimes I will deviate away from the structure, and I have kind of talked about this in my it was my video about dealing with empty pages, which I will link down below. But yeah, sometimes I will forfeit the to-do list and only write a bunch of paragraphs. So yeah, I think having a general structure is really helpful for keeping consistent on a day-to-day basis, but don't be too rigid about it if something comes up. My next tip is to really embed journaling into your daily routine. At this point, journaling for me is kind of like brushing my teeth. I think for most of us, no matter how tired we are, before bed, we usually brush our teeth. It's just something that we do, and it's a habit. What you can do is kind of run through your morning routine, or perhaps your evening routine if that's when you prefer to write, and think about things that you always do every evening and where you can kind of fit journaling into that. Taking myself as an example, every morning I wake up, obviously, I bring a cup of hot water and a cup of coffee downstairs, and I walk on the walking pad while replying to emails. After about an hour, I go back upstairs and I make a second cup of coffee, and while that second cup of coffee cools down, I get out all of my journaling supplies and I get started on my spread. After that, I go to the gym and get on with my day. So this series of events, apart from special occasions or emergencies, it happens without fail. I always need to have my second cup of coffee, and that obviously needs to cool. So it's kind of just like a no-brainer for me at this point that as I'm waiting for my coffee to cool, that is when I start journaling. I really hope I'm making sense here. I guess just to sum it up, I would allocate a period of time for journaling that is related to some habits and routines that you already do. Another tip that I have, which I have definitely shared this before, and it is whenever possible, I work on the next day's spread the day before. If you watch my daily planning videos, you might notice that I always draw the margin and write the word today 2 days at a time. So I do it for today and the next day. It takes an extra 10 seconds for me to do so in the present, but the next day, it's really beneficial because mentally I'm not dealing with a completely blank slate, and I'm more inclined to get started with journaling earlier in the day. Another tip that I have is to build a mental toolbox of things that you can do when you don't feel like writing a lot. So examples of things that I often do is making a bullet point of things rather than writing long paragraphs. Or I will paste in pretty packaging from things that I collect. When I'm traveling, I know that I won't have as much time to journal, so I cut down my pages so I have less space to write. I would do hand lettering with markers and make big doodles to take up some space, add stickers, washi, etc. So just having a mental toolbox of these ideas that you can go for whenever you aren't in the mood to write is really helpful. So yeah, I find that whenever I'm sitting down and maybe I'm feeling a bit tired, or I'm really stressed and I don't have as much time to write during a particular day, I will kind of mentally sift through all of these strategies and pick one of these ideas and implement it for the day so that I don't have to spend as much time writing. And I think my last piece of advice is to really not try to aim for perfection. I know this is easier said than done. I personally have a really bad black and white, all or nothing mentality. So this is part of the reason why I have really never been able to keep up with an entire journal or planner until I started really working on this aspect. I know it's the most satisfying thing to see fully filled pages with super neat writing and all of these beautiful decorations and stuff like that. But I think for most of us, we are really busy people and things don't always go our way. Also, we are humans and our energy and mood fluctuates. So we might not be always up for writing an entire page every single day. And in previous years, my mentality would definitely be that every single day I needed to fill out this entire page. But of course, when emergencies happen or when I'm going through a super busy week and I inevitably fall off on filling out the pages, I get super demotivated and I just end up abandoning my journal. So if you set the bar really high to, for example, filling out an entire page every day, and you fall even a little bit short of that, anyone who tends to have black and white thinking like myself will just kind of spiral and abandon this journal. But in recent years, what I have done is really lowered the bar for myself. And the bar currently is that every single day, unless I don't know, break an arm or something, or I'm in a coma, I just need to write down one thing or put down one sticker or make one doodle, and that is the minimum for the day. And I have taken advantage of this low bar at many points in the past few years. So sometimes I will literally just put down one single sticker and I write the word no, and that is it for the day. And I don't let that affect my journaling spread for the next day. Of course, if I'm going through a long period where things are just really off, then maybe I will have several days in a row where I just put down one sticker and write down one word. But so far I have done this a few times, and the next day I actually kind of realize that I miss journaling and I come back a bit stronger with like a prettier spread, if that makes any sense. Okay, I think that is all I have for today. If you have any tips as well, feel free to comment them down below. I could always use some new ideas as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!